talk with telepathy. Right? And some of them come in dream format. They come as dream walkers. So you know you're not asleep. You like in a meditative trance. And then the reality will shift. But you know you're not asleep. And then you'll be wondering, where is this place? That's called the sacred halls.
The sacred halls.
Right, the halls of Amenti. Amenti means the unknown place or the concealed place. It's concealed in the psyche as a university to educate you on the reality that you exist in. To train you up from a beginner soul to a master soul so that you can become the greatest self you can be. Like you doing your life purpose right now. It's obvious. Right? Because you excel at it without being on NBC, Fox, CBS. People want to come see what Brother Rich talking about. Right? And you come as with journalistic integrity and you don't take sides in nobody's conflict among your guests. Right? Because you got some guests that I would love to meet, and then you got some, I better not be in the same room with them. But that's called journalistic integrity, right?
Oh, man, you funny like a motherfucker. He said, I better not be in the same room with Oh, man.
Right, but that's journalistic integrity because you ain't supposed to take sides with the people purveying the information.
Yeah.
Right? You're just supposed to get the information out. And that's what you do. Right? So, like, different people, you would say, I'll make that happen. Other people, you would say, yeah, I ain't gonna even ask them about that. I already know where that's gonna go. Right? And you don't mix those lines. You don't get involved in that because that ain't really none of your personal business. You just trying to get information out to the people.
Right.
Right? So, I don't feel no type of way. Because everybody got a right to think, feel, believe, whatever they want. That's part of being a sovereign being. Anybody tell you don't have a right to think, feel, and believe whatever you want, they trying to control you. They trying to control you with false information. Because if you got to think about it, if you a god, right? Because you hear all these clowns running to my, I'm a god. Right? If you a God, the first thing you understand is all of this without is the same as within. If I hate any part of that which is out, it's something on the inside I hate. The harder I hate that thing without, the more it shows up as a psychological anomaly in the physical form. Psychosomatic illness. Right? Because you focused all of that hatred so strong that it made it resonate within the self. And it caused the cells to mutate because they don't supposed to push that negative energy through. Right? Then you got pieces of the DNA flying off with no way of chelating the blood to get it out because you following the diet that the enemy gave you and told you it was your own diet. Right? When we started making hot dogs, who did that? Right? Who started making hamburger? Right? Ground beef. Where that come from? Right? But then where these cows come from? Because we had bison. But we got what we call selective amnesia about the history of our people because they told us that we came from somewhere else and disassociated us from our people's history. All the time, they was never stop bombing our villages, and they calling them the Great Fire of this city or that city. They was burning us out.
Right.
All of they so-called bank robbing outlaws was robbing Big Mama's banks. Every town had a Big Mama bank. You got to go back and look and study colonial history because it tell you in the history books that at one time it was a different currency for each bank. Right? And that each bank's currency was a recognizable IOU to the fellow banks in the Confederacy. But we don't remember that shit because we think that we know history because we sat in on some kumbaya Black History Month shit. Right? I don't got no problem with Black history. I got a problem with erased history, misplaced history, rerouted history, redirected history. That's where my problem at. Because we see this is a Masonic practice of shifting the story slightly out of context. So it say what it say, but it don't mean what it say.
Right.
Right. This is what we was talking about when we looking at all of these different edicts that the Catholic Church is giving to slaughter us over here. Right. But then we want to be taking on false identities that disassociate us from the land so that we can get the invaders the right to seize the land. They can't have it. Right? They already lied about all these treaties because we don't believe in selling the land. You can't sell your mama.
You know, damn. Whew. You know, Rod, you talk about the land a lot, and that's part of your soul contract. You know, is to break that conjure, like you said. You know, I hear so much about how they flooded a lot of the land. Like, let's say Lake Lanier. We had these towns, they flooded it and built lakes over it. Shit, like there's so many lakes where underneath the lake, it's thousands and thousands of Black people. You hear about the so many.
It's not just the lakes.
It's the what
See,
else?
the sandbars of the Gulf used to have structures on them. They bombed them motherfuckers underwater. That's why you got a whole half of New Orleans is under the Gulf. Most of us don't even know that. But I remember it before it was under the Gulf.
So, Rod, that's deep. Now, check this out, Rod. With that being said and what I said, you talked earlier about species evolution. Us reincarnating in this realm, we got so many civilizations underwater. Do we eventually, because of species evolution, are we going to start incarnating under the water? Because we like shit. So many of us.
We already did that before.
Like right now, are we like incarnate under the water right now?
We already did that before.
Talk to me about that, man. Come on.
There was a species, the hominid, that looked like a human, but it had gills. Yeah. They made a movie called Man from Atlantis based on that species of human. They don't exist no more. But the evolutionary tribe, you can trace them. They in Africa or South Africa, they dive underwater for extended periods of time. Right? That's because they mixed the tribes from the water with the tribes on the land, and the genetics from the tribes on the land eliminated the underwater breathing aspect of open-gilled rib cages. Right? So it wasn't needed. It became a genetic atrophy. It is no longer necessary. The same thing in the fish's gills is the brachia, the same thing that's in your lungs to absorb the oxygen from the water. Right? A lot of us don't know that there's a saline ambient liquid in our lungs as we absorb oxygen. And it's a buffer to allow you to absorb the oxygen. So these little things are just clues to the structure of the creation itself. When you get enough clues and you look at it from, okay, now why would God do this? But it got to make sense first. Then it got to be traceable second. And then it got to have a optimum conclusion that comes to a grand finale. And the conclusion should bring all of the negativity back to balance. Right? So you go back and you look at where was the anomaly? It was in the history books. Where was the plan hatched in Notre Dame University? How do you know this? because the slave ship is a perfect layover for Notre Dame University. That's where they hatched the plot. What was the plot based off of? Plato's Republic, right? It's a democratic society, right? So when we're looking at the Republic, how is it playing? What's the narrative playing out? What chapter of the Republic are we in? This is the part of the Republic where the Republic falls for the greed of the ones that were sitting in the places of power of the Republic. They greed caused it to fall because they defaulted on all of their loans. Mm-hmm. And then they tried to take out loans on the default. Somebody got to come. The bill always comes due. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Their bill is due. Their time is up. Our time is now. But our people still supporting their old system instead of going back to our system. Mm-hmm. This is all energy exchange. Mm-hmm. They're talking about waking up from the three-dimensional reality of a fixed position mind state, being stubborn to the obvious changes that's in front of you. Mm-hmm. That slows down progress. Bunch of bulls got their feet stuck in the ground. You can't pull them asses nowhere. Right? Somebody needs some carrots on some sticks. Get them heifers moving.
Rod, man, we about to get out of here, man. I want to thank you once again, man, for the awesome, amazing show. I want to get to a question from the people in the chat before we get out of here. I started a little late tonight, y'all, but I want to give me some questions in the chat. I'm gonna take one question in the chat before we get out of here. That thing, what you said while somebody comes up with a question, Rod, that thing you said about the halls of a mentee, that was deep, man. That trance-like state before sleep, because we're taught, we always talk about dreams, but a lot of people don't pay attention to that space right before you go to sleep. Do you think that's more important than the actual dream itself when you're in that trance state before sleep?
Your dreams serve different purposes. Some of them is to rationalize the events of the day according to your book of life. You're doing what's called a comparative analysis. The nightmare is the upset in the paradigm that shows that something in the paradigm is inaccurate. Right? So it's going to come out to stand out in your mind as a nightmare. When you find out what the boogeyman is in real life, you run the boogeyman out the dream.
Right. Okay, let's see. Give me 1 second, Ron. Let me see what they're talking about. The hell some of y'all be talking about? Y'all be saying some crazy shit. Let me see. I don't see anything I want to ask.
So look, I had the first person that came to me in the hall was Farah Muhammad.
Oh, in that state. Oh, look, talk to me about your experience. Yeah. I would love to hear that. So what's going on?
I was in Cook County Jail and I was talking to this brother. Everett X was a radio head for Elijah. I was able to experience that firsthand about Elijah being a radio director. They call radio producer, the one who projects the radio signal.
Right.
So it was like being taught directly by Elijah through somebody else.
Woo. Now we talking. Come on, Rod. Come on.
So I had an issue with the way Farah Muhammad looked. Because if he's going to tell me God a black man, he better look like Marcus Garvey. He better do the things that Marcus Garvey did.
Yeah.
So when he was telling me about Farah, I'm looking to meet Marcus Garvey. You bring me a final call with a picture of Farah Muhammad in there. Man, my chin hit the floor. He ain't even black.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing I thought. So I'm looking at the picture.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear something say, I know what you're thinking. Right? But I'm trying to examine this picture. I'm like, make this shit make sense to me, because this ain't making no sense.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because the original man is the original man. This is what I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Po niggas, nappy hair, and big lips.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when I see fire, I'm not buying it. So I'm sitting there. I was doing my meditation. And I wasn't even thinking about that shit no more.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went into this trance, I started walking down this tunnel, and it was going like in a spiral down. Mm-hmm. And on the side, it looked like somebody had set up a little cutout in the side of the tunnel and put a booth there.
Mm.
And as I walked up, it was Fard Muhammad sitting in the chair.
Mm-hmm.
This was the first code that I picked up. I'm gonna tell you what it means when I get done telling you what he said.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Come here and sit down." He said, it doesn't work the way you think it worked,
mm-hmm.
but you'll figure that out later.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked him about being wrinkled up and old looking, because he posted my age.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I could have extended my age. Right? This the code. He said, but I started eating 3 meals a day to hasten my death so that I can return back.
Mm.
Right? So he was going back to source as an energy. The code was, and the last thing, they would be greedy. And this would be cause the aging and the death of a people. Greed.
Mm.
The greed is going to come from a place of apathy. The victim position. All of the people in the history of the world that have been in slavery, and they talking about reparations, when they can just do for self now, because we can do for self now. In the past, you can't hold them accountable because the condition was different. So we did all this fighting to get this fire to say, well, we ain't gonna do nothing else because we want reparations. Reparations is a trick. It's a blatant deception to draw the ones that's hereditary to the earth in parts. This is the land of Tahuti. The ones who are the first family of Tahuti is heirs to this land. Right? So if you want to think you from the land of Enki, go ahead. We got relatives over there. We not mad at them people. Right? But we still have to know where we from in order to assert our birthright, in order to restore balance to the land.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go with the scholarly narrative that disassociates you from your birthright. Then you forfeit your birthright under the imbecile clause. Mm-hmm. This is how the Catholic Church had us all hostage, by declaring us all imbeciles in law. That's why we end up 3/5 compromise, Dred Scott Negroes.
Right. Let me ask you this before we get out of here, right? I seen the question I want to ask. Yeah, man, the chat is moving out of. Oh man, I don't know. And I don't forgot what it was. All right. Oh, real quick before we get to that, somebody asked earlier about your Cash App. Let me put it on the screen real quick before I forget. It's SikApe, right, Rod?
Yeah.
Yeah.
$, capital S, AK, capital APE. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So I just put the brother Rod's Cash App for those who want to contribute. I'm also going to put mine at the bottom of the screen for anybody who wants to contribute to the platform. And my brother Rod Hayes.
Hey, look, I be had to remind people that's watching that y'all do that Cash App because it's courtesy and practice. And then if y'all send something, I gotta receive it out of gratitude. But man, if I didn't ever get a dime, I ain't in this for no money. If I didn't never get a dime, I'm still gonna tell these people what they don't want them to know about us reclaiming what's ours just because it's right. And it's not enough money that can pay for that to me.
Indeed.
Therefore, it's worthless. I gotta tell it. I can't keep it and conceal it, because I could have wrote scholarly thesis on this stuff with the references and all of that. And nobody would have never had to see my face. Right? But the whole mission was described in a blueprint in the Great Osirian Resurrection. Following the blueprint, you able to recover using the Osirian, what's called the grandfather clause. That's who Santa Claus is. Right? That's the great clause, the grandfather clause. A time in law when the law of the land was the supreme law of the land. That's the Iroquois Constitution. That's the oral Constitution that we knew it by heart by the time we was elders in the community. It was written in the soul. You can't take that away from us. This is how we always rise back to the permanence. No matter what happened on this land, anything can come. We welcome every challenge. But just know when it's time for the games to end, the games have to end. This is where we at. If you go back and listen to me and Taj, he flat out tell you I'm the closer. I came to close the books on this BS. Judge motherfucking Dredd. Right? So the ones who don't understand the receipts, go back and check what I'm telling you. If I'm telling everybody the 100, there can't no money pay for that.